A show of support for a high school volleyball coach who says his sexual orientation cost him his job.
Air Tracker 7 flew over Valor Christian High School today, where students walked out in support of Enoke Tonga. Denver 7 was the first to bring you Tonga's story on Sunday. He tells us he was forced to resign because he's gay.
And as Denver 7's Sloan Dickey found out, he's not the first Valor coach to experience this.
It was the best job she ever had.
It was honestly the best. It was literally my most favorite coaching job I've ever had.
In 2019, Lauren Benner became Coach of the Year at Valor Christian High School.
We were conference champions.
Less than a year later, she stepped down. A post on the school's website says little, only wishing her the best in her future endeavors.
It was gut-wrenching.
But in reality,
it honestly shook me to my core.
She says she was asked to resign because of her sexuality.
Just was completely degrading to my professional achievements, to who I was as a person.
A striking similarity to the story we shared on Sunday about Enoke Tonga.
They said I had two options. The first option was to denounce that I was gay.
He too was pushed out of Valor Christian for being gay.
I felt like I was being talked down to and belittled.
They both worked in athletics. Benner, a lacrosse coach, Tonga, a volleyball coach. Both decided to resign after being told that being gay did not align with the school's values.
It's not you're fired, it's you're no longer in alignment.
Benner stayed silent until this week.
I've cried many, many tears.
Compelled, she shared her story on Instagram.
I felt like if I didn't, that I would be, just not supporting him, not supporting students who I've now read messages.
Denver 7 reached out to Valor Christian for comment, but did not hear back. So we contacted a lawyer with Americans United for the Separation of Church and State.
It is likely not legal, and I would say it's not ethical.
He says religious protections for discriminating against sexual orientation only go so far.
Religious freedom is meant to be a shield. It is not meant to be a sword. It is not an excuse to discriminate.
Looking back now, Benner says she would never have accepted a job at a school that discriminated against sexual orientation.
I wouldn't go down that road just because of where it is, where the line is drawn and where our beliefs stand.
She says at the very least, she wants this to be a lesson for students.
Education, that for the people who, put me in that position, that they would feel led to educate themselves on what the other side is.
An opportunity to lead the way for athletes.
And CHSAA told us in a statement, quote, the association doesn't condone unlawful discrimination in any form. They recommend anyone with a complaint against a school to contact the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. Reporting live in downtown Denver, Sloan Dickey, Denver 7.
Sloan, thank you for that. And Valor Christian is a private school, which raises the question, can a private religious school legally force out an employee for being gay? Well, the answer isn't exactly clear-cut.
So going in depth tonight, in a 6-3 decision last year, the U.S. Supreme Court extended protections under the Civil Rights Act to include sexual orientation and gender identity. Now, in short, that means employers cannot fire a worker because they are gay. However, writing the majority opinion, Justice Neil Gorsuch acknowledged that this law may not apply to religious institutions, citing the First Amendment. Now, a civil rights attorney we talked with today agreed that because Valor Christian is private, it's a religious school, the legality of forcing a gay employee out is kind of a gray area. So he says the employee could still bring their case to the Colorado Civil Rights Division.
Even though someplace, a school, an entity, whatever it is, might be private, and not only private, but see themselves as somewhat outside the law because they're following a different law, be it religion or whatever, it doesn't mean that the civil rights provisions that pertain to all citizens of the United States, and especially in Colorado, don't apply to them.
We want your thoughts on this issue. Should a private school be able to ask an employee to leave based on sexual orientation? You can send us your thoughts at 360@thedenverchannel.com.
The street outside Valor Christian High School Tuesday afternoon was filled with signs and support. Support for former volleyball coach Enoke Tonga, who says he left the private school after staff told him he couldn't identify as gay. Now, the legal questions are coming into focus.
This is such an evolving area. So, for example, there's no federal law protecting sexual orientation.
Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits employment discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, and national origin. 9 News legal analyst Whitney Traylor says private religious institutions are not subject to every rule a public or government institution is.
It's always complicated when you have a religious institution.
Valor Christian says that Tonga did not support Valor's beliefs and community standards pertaining to sexuality and marriage. University of Denver law professor Don Mayer says it's not clear if legal exceptions for religious institutions would apply in this case.
The defense to that lawsuit based on Title VII sex discrimination would be this ministerial exception.
Ministerial exceptions allow religious institutions to select ministerial personnel based on the values they want to follow. It's unclear if a volleyball coach applies.
Any other institution has to deal with Title VII without the religious freedom aspect to it.
Courts around the country have began interpreting the Civil Rights Act to now include protections for sexuality, but the Supreme Court has not.
Now there's at least 3 federal appellate courts that have found that.
In Denver, I'm Mark Salinger, 9 News.